While the Supreme Pontiff retains the spiritual leadership of Western and Central Europa, the church war effort is delegated to 12 dedicated war cardinals, each responsible for an important area of the Fateful Dominions. War Cardinal Demencio Aladosi of the Papal States is a vigorous, charismatic, and aggressive frontline commander. Under his supervision, the Swiss Guard has seen a forceful expansion, including a large contingent of newly raised heavy mechanized infantry, Papal Air Force to ensure the sanctity of the Holy See, and the expansion of the Holy Fleet. This combined Mediterranean fleet is responsible for both maintaining naval parity with the heretic fleets, as well as supplying the fortress of Cyprus that protect New Antioch from seaborne assaults. The War Cardinal has incorporated many novel ways to ensure that the coffers of the church are not stretched beyond their limit, such as selling war indulgences and chantries to supplement the treasury. The War Cardinal is responsible for the defence of the Papal States against the encroaching threat of the heretic mainland invasion force that has reached the Italian peninsula. Here, the faithful struggle to contain the artificial monstrosities of the legions of the demon Elagos, bought from the debt factories with a huge loan from the Bank of Mammon. As the automaton soldiers and war machines of hell need little to no supplies, they present an extremely difficult enemy to dislodge from the areas that they have taken. He dreams of retaking Venice, the ancestral home of his family, but with the vast effort required in maintaining New Antioch, he has found it difficult to muster enough forces for a campaign against Great Duke Elagos and his mechanical horrors. Alrighty folks, short enough official lore. This week, all that stuff was official. Don't worry about your canon. I didn't think we'd have anything coming out this week, frankly, with Tuomas and everybody being at Adepticon and now off to play. But they got something done because they're crazy, I guess. So we have some information on the War Cardinals, some of the more important tactical minds of the church. So let's run through just a couple of things that were mentioned here that people might find interesting or maybe might not know. War indulgences are mentioned. They were a thing back in the classic Crusades. You could basically give money for your sins, I guess is the easiest way to look at it. They could be used as a means of stirring up volunteers, or you could just straight up purchase indulgences from the church and things like that. You could perform very specific acts. So perhaps you're a arms factory owner and you make large donations of arms or ammunition or whatever to the church. Things of that nature. It's a really good way to drum up additional support, basically, for the church in the world of Trench Crusade. And then you have chantries, which are paid masses, masses for your soul. So basically, in a world where God is real, you don't want to take for granted that he's just going to forgive you. So you will look to the church and you will ask, how can I get God on my side? I have sinned in 1,000 petty ways, and I understand my nature as a human being, and I will sin in 1,000 petty ways before I die. What can I do? So you bank favor in the eyes of Christ as far as the church is concerned. Pretty interesting stuff. Let's talk about Elagos. Elagos is a goetic demon. He's the 15th of the 72 demons that were summoned by King Solomon in the Lesser Key of Solomon. So that's the real world take. In the real world hierarchy, or in the mythological hierarchy, or however it is you want to describe it, he's a duke. Duke Elagos. He appears to have gotten a promotion in Trench Crusade to Grand Duke Elagos, which is interesting, and he's described as a goodly knight carrying a lance and a flag. He is known for discovering hidden things, and he kind of the term is he knows things to come. So it's very specifically not that he sees the future. He doesn't know everything, I guess, but he knows some things that are going to happen, especially about wars and how soldiers will or shall meet. this is very specific phrasing from from his real world description, how the soldiers will or shall meet. I'm reading that to mean the engagements, when they actually clash, right? When you have your battle tactics and they have their battle tactics and you clash. He has like insight into what will occur there. It's probably hard to get one over on him. The demon is unsurprisingly signifies religious conflict and generally just conflict. And he apparently governs 60 legions, and in quote unquote real world they're considered to be spirits, but here we know that they're actually automaton. And that very interesting thing about, right, getting a loan from the Bank of Mammon, which probably means that whatever he ends up taking on Earth, he will never be able to hold, right? Because Mammon is just like the greediest guy in the world. So that is extremely interesting. So we can also extrapolate out that, like, if this guy is able to get a loan from Mammon, then potentially, as part of Mammon's favor, other demons can elevate themselves based off his wealth, right? If Mammon likes you to a degree, he might extend you a loan and allow you to carry out your plans and see if you can succeed with them. And if you do, here's extra money. And if you don't, you don't want to owe Mammon anything. So the artist this week is Paolo Parente. And Paolo is somebody whose art I would have first seen when I was very young. I feel like I can say that a lot about the people who were involved in Trench Crusade. He studied in Italy. I wrote down the name of the place because I didn't want to absolutely destroy it. The Istituto Marangoni, I want to say. And it feels weird to do a pretend Italian accent. And Italian people, I'm very sorry that I just did that to your language. I feel awful about it. But that's where he studied. And he didn't just study there. He studied there, he graduated there. And then he would go on to be a professor there as well. I've always found his work to be incredibly interesting. And that's why, because of that educational history. I feel like if you look at his work and compare it to other people, there is definitively differences in the fabrics and the drapery within his work, and even the way that armor sits upon the body of his subjects is a little different. With a lot of people's work, you look at it and what you see is the armor. You see a person who is armor, if that makes sense. With Paolo's work, I feel like you look at it and you see a person who is dressed in armor. I think there is a difference just in the way it sits subtly upon the form of the human within, if that makes any sense. So I first came across his stuff as a fan of the Mutant Chronicles. He was like art director and main illustrator there, and just he would go on to develop and create the Dust 1947 universe, which was an alternate World War II history and science fiction blend with some Cthulhu mythos worked in. And it was just a really fun world. And unfortunately, it just did not survive COVID-19. And so much kind of cool stuff just didn't. But yeah, that's Paolo. So there you go. You have the official lore. We had a little bit of extrapolation on the lore, things that I find interesting, and some information on the artist. That's likely going to be the format that I will use going forward for these weekly drops. Let me know if you liked it, if you have any feedback or anything like that. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful time in the trenches, and I'll talk to you real soon. Goodbye.